asking me those 3 questions. What can I do to help you? How can I make your life easier? How can I be a better wife? So we've been walking this road a long time now, in which I've been reaching out to serve her. She's reaching out to serve me. That's what marriage is all about. We're there for each other. Our hearts are beating together. And consequently, we can work through our differences. Every couple's going to have conflicts. But we have to respect our differences and then try to find out, okay, listen long enough to say, I can see what you're saying, and I can see how that makes sense. And then you listen long enough to see that what I'm saying makes sense. Now, the question is, how can we solve the problem? And spend our energy solving the problem. You know, if you win an argument with your spouse, they lost. And so I think the more single adult.
I was a college pastor. I come from a faith background where I've chosen to follow Christ and do my best to mimic his example, and I screw up a ton. There's a lot of different faiths in the room. There's a lot of folks who are at different parts of their spiritual journey on the room, which is awesome and is welcome. I think one thing that
is huge in the business world. It's huge in the business world. I took the love languages to work. We wrote a book called The 5 Languages of Appreciation in the Workplace.
It's a great book.
And because it's the same need that I'm valued here as a person. I'm not just a cog in a machine. And so I was talking to a businessman who owned a business in construction. And I was trying to share this with him and how, it'd be important for his men to feel appreciated. He said to me, I don't care if my men feel appreciated or not. I pay them to get the job done. If they don't get the job done, I fire them. You understand what he's saying? Selfishness. It's the opposite of love. I'm in this business to make money for myself. Well, that kind of attitude, you'll never have good relationships in business, in family, or anywhere else. But an attitude of love, you take the initiative, in whatever context it is, to reach out and communicate to other people that you appreciate them, depending on how close the relationship is. But you appreciate them, and you want to do anything you can that will enrich them to flourish, because you're building positive relationships with people. So I just think, and the good news is we choose our attitudes. We don't choose our emotions. Our emotions are just responses to circumstances. We can't keep from feeling things. We don't have to follow our feelings. Well, we don't create them. But we do choose our attitude.
So everybody in the room here is in the business world as an entrepreneur, but we're in serving families, helping them with their financial needs, the conversations. You look at the #1 leading cause of divorce comes down to money issues. And you're able to help people get ahead of a lot of those money, financial planning issues. It can have a big impact in the marriage. There's a million other issues as well, but if you can help solve that one, it's a way to financially wash someone's feet, if you will. As there, we are aiming to really have an impact in the world. We want to change the world. We're going to do it. We've been recognized as the fastest growing financial marketing firm like 7 years in a row, and we're not slowing down. We're excited about it. But what's crazy about the folks in this room is we're not doing it for the money. We're doing it for a bigger purpose. And all of the folks have a slightly different purpose. Would you go into detail and talk about how 5 love languages applies to being in the workplace, whether it's W-2, whether it's 1099? Because if somebody wants to be an effective leader, they've got to be able to communicate appreciation and love to the folks that they're leading. Can you kind of dive into that?
Yeah, I'll tell you what led me to write that book. And I wrote it with a business leader who'd been in business for 20 years. He was a psychologist. But what led me to write the book with him was research that indicated that 70% of the people who have a job in this country say they feel little appreciation at work. Wow. And 64% of the people who leave a job and go to another job say they left primarily because they didn't feel appreciated where they were. And I said, if that's true, then we need to write this book. And we've been really encouraged by the way the way people have received it in the workplace. And I think if we have an attitude of love, then this just gives us information on how to communicate appreciation to anybody that we're interfacing with on a regular basis, whether it's our business partners or whether it's the people that we're working with. If we have that attitude, then it's going to come across, and it's going to create a positive emotional bond between you. And whenever we feel appreciated, we're more involved when we feel appreciated. And people are more likely to respond to advice you're giving on finances if they feel appreciated, by you. That you really have their best interest in mind. You're not just trying to sell them something,
Would you give just a brief example of each of the love languages at work in a business context? It's not a romantic relationship, it's a business context. What's an example of how somebody can do that?
Yeah, well, words of affirmation, for example, you would give positive things that you see about them. I can see that you're really concerned about this. I can see that this is very important to you. And I'm really glad that you've come for us to talk about this. But it's using words to affirm them for something. Acts of service is you're serving them in what you're doing. And that is an act of service in and of itself. But you can also ask the question along the way, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you think I might be able to help you with? So it's just letting them know you're there to serve them. Gifts, a little more difficult, but there are things you can give people. You can say, I don't know if you like this candy bar, but we make them available to our people. If you want one, I'd like to give you one. If they say, no, I'm not into candy, that's fine, but at least you offer them something, Doesn't have to be something big and expensive. Quality time, you are typically spending quality time with the person that's there because you're involving listening to them. And I think listening to them is really a key issue. But you know that. You got to hear where they are and what their story is and what their situation is before you can really help them. And so giving them that kind of quality time. Physical touch. The HR people said, no, not at work. We don't touch people at work. And I understand that. And in our research, almost no one had physical touch as their primary language. But with customers, you can, if it's a man patting on the back, a man patting a man on the back, or a woman who pat a woman on the back, I wouldn't suggest doing much the other way. So we don't have that in the MBA inventory, motivated by appreciation inventory. We don't have physical touch in there, but we do have a chapter in the book about it. And we say if you see people giving some other people a high five, you can give them a high five. If they don't touch people, don't touch them. And then we also deal with physical abuse in the workplace and sexual abuse in the workplace. And those have to be dealt with. They cannot be ignored.
Yeah. You drive. Yeah, give me some love, by the way. Awesome.
Woo!
Would you talk a little about the difference between expressing appreciation and recognition? Because I think at least in a business culture, in a sales culture, someone can get recognized for performance. And then we're going to do that tonight, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between recognition and appreciation.
Yeah, recognition typically is based upon performance. And sometimes longevity. In certain businesses, you've been there 20 years, you get a gold watch or something, So longevity or performance. You met certain goals, et cetera, et cetera. But then there's a lot of people that are working in the same context. They didn't make it. They didn't make the performance, and so they don't get recognized. Appreciation, everybody can be appreciated because everybody's a human, and humans are valuable. And so we can always appreciate things about people. And we should be looking for things that we can express appreciation about for the people we work with and the people who come to us for service.
It's awesome. Changing topics. You talk about the love tank. What's a love tank?
Well, I use the gasoline tank in a car as a metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
If the tank's full, you can drive a long ways. But if it's getting near empty, you better find a gas station. And I like to think that inside every child and inside every adult, there is an emotional love tank. And if that love tank is full, then that person is flourishing. But if that love tank is empty, whether it's a spouse who feels like they don't love me, it's just that simple, or a child who doesn't feel loved, it's going to affect them. If a child doesn't have a full love tank, they're going to grow up with a lot of internal emotional struggles. And in the teenage years, they will go looking for love, often in the wrong places. And I think much of the misbehavior of children and much of the misbehavior of adults grows out of an empty love tank. And so that's why I think everybody basically agrees one of our deepest emotional needs on the human level is to feel loved by the significant people in your life. And if you feel loved in a marriage, life is beautiful. But if you feel like they don't love me, they wish they weren't married to me, life looks pretty dark. And so it's just essential if we're going to have healthy relationships in marriage and in close relationships. You know, with single adults, this whole concept applies to their relationship with their parents, their siblings, their college roommates, their dating partners, their work associates. It applies in all close relationships.
So in a room like this, we have a lot of high-performance achievers, business folks, a lot of high-performance couples, a lot of married couples run the business together. It is so easy, I'll speak for myself, to get to a point where you're leading on empty in your love tank. And you're managing your marriage and you're attempting to lead in business because stuff's got to get done. And it's easy to put the most important thing sometimes on the back burner and just think, well, it'll be automatic. We take it for granted, right? For any couples in the room who maybe feel like they're in a spot where maybe they're excelling in business, or maybe they feel like they're stuck in business, but they know that their home life, they're leading on empty. What are a couple things couples can do to identify when that's happening, and what are some things they can do leaving here to start reversing the momentum of that?
I think one thing is every couple of weeks, say to your spouse, on a scale of 0 to 10, how full is your love tank this week? And they give you a reading. If they say anything less than 10, you say, well, what could I do this week that would be most important? And it may not be their primary love language that week. Circumstances may be something else that would really, really be helpful to them that week. That's just an easy way to check in with each other, to see how you're doing. And then to ask specifically, what would be most meaningful this week that I could do for you, or even today that I could do for you? When you do that, now you at least have information. And the very fact that you ask shows that you want to know. You want to fill their love tank. So I think plugging in like that, that's just an easy way to do it.
What are a couple good, I call them check-in questions with my wife? Because I'll be doing things and I think I'm doing them for her. Like the example you gave in the very beginning. And I will find out the hard way that I didn't do any of that stuff for her. What are questions couples can ask each other before there's a breakdown, a blow up, a fight, a cold shoulder, to check in on if their intention is actually landing as their impact?
Well, on acts of service, you could say, honey, would it be helpful to you if and you tell them whatever it is you have in mind doing for them?
Don't just say, what do you want?
Yeah, no,
okay.
You say, would it be helpful to you? Because you got something in your mind, you think this would be helpful to them. So, would it be helpful to you if I did that? And she said, well, honey, that would be nice, but what I really would like for you to do, and they give you something else. But that's the way of checking in. Would it be helpful to you if I did that? So on quality time, you know, it could be things like, honey, why don't we talk a little bit about our next date night? What would you like to do on our next date night? Which says, I'm interested. We're going to do something. Let's talk about it a bit, you know. Incidentally, I have a new book that just came out a week ago. It's a follow-up to the 5 love languages.
You mentioned this.
Yeah, follow-up. After 33 years, answering the 2 questions I've heard most often. And that is this: what are the dialects within the languages? People have said to me, you mentioned dialects in your book, the 5 love languages, but you don't tell anything about what they are. And then you also mention personality and how it interfaces with the love language, but you don't talk about that either. And so in this book, we're talking about those two things.
Give us a teaser.
Well, for example, we talk about, let's just take.
This book came out a week ago.
Yeah, it just came out a week ago.
Guys, give us some love. He's like not slowing down. He's like, I got another book in me. Here we go.
Yesterday, already sold 32,000.
32,000 copies in the first 4 days.
And the title is The Love Language That Matters Most. That's the title.
The love language that matters most.
And we say on the back of the book, the love language that matters most is the love language of the other person.
Wow.
Not the selfish thing.
200 spouses.
You gotta speak my
spouse.
language.
Yeah.
But at any rate, we deal with that. For example, let's just take acts of service, for example. There's dialect is saving them time. They're under pressure, you do something for them, saving them time. That's one of the dialects. Oh, honey, that is so wonderful. You saved me some time. Or also, another one is that you really care. And this is where having regular things that you do, like one of the things I do for my wife every night is take the trash out. And that shows her I care for her. And if I don't take the trash out, next morning I'm gonna hear about it. You forgot me last night. But so anyway, we go through all those with the different love languages, and then with that book, there's also a premium quiz that's located at the same place the original quiz was on. 5 Love is still there. 5lovelanguages.com, and it helps you determine what the dialect is for your primary love language. And also your personality and how that interfaces. For example, take personality. Just take introvert, extrovert. And let's say words of affirmation is the other person's primary love language. And so you're going to really do it big. You're going to